Finally, the international break is over. We're not going to see it again until March. And do you know how good it feels to say it? Because this week has been killer. You know Guni ain't a fan of the international breaks. And the thing is, look, yeah, I like international football. I like it when there's something to play for. The Euros, the World Cup, you get me, the Copas, all of that stuff, yeah, I'm all for it. But all of this stuff in between, this Nations League and this, that and the other, to me it just feels like a money grab. And at the end of the day, a lot of these players, they're playing at like their peak performance every single week. They're training hard. It takes a toll on their bodies. And to be forcing more fixtures into that season, nah, man, I'm not really a fan of it. Let us have our club football. You get me? Stop ruining the flow of club football. Yeah? And let us have our Premier League back, which is what we do have this weekend. But before I do get too carried away, make sure you do like, share, subscribe. Leave your thoughts down there in the comments as well. What do you think about international break? And most importantly, leave your thoughts about how you feel this weekend's game going to go. Leicester versus Chelsea at the King Power Stadium. Let's go. Right, so obviously this is not going to be a very easy challenge, but we're going to speak a little bit about Leicester at the minute, and because there's a lot of drama surrounding them when you really think about it. I mean, we're going to start off with the big elephant in the room for Leicester fans. Is Brendan Rodgers going to stay at Leicester after being heavily linked with Manchester United? And in my opinion, you never know. But I will say this, it might be a bit of positivity for Leicester fans. I will say, if there's ever a good time in between the season to be replacing managers, not that I'm a fan of it, but it is during like the international break, because I mean, I know a week is not a long time, 2 weeks is not a long time, but I mean, it's easy at that point in the season. It's easier to make that transition than any other point in the season while the boys are still playing. You get me? So that's why I feel Solskjaer's at the wheel till the end of the season, and United fans are just gonna have to ride it out. Which means, in my opinion, Leicester, unless you continue on this form, will be keeping Mr. Brendan Rodgers. But even outside of that, we've got to look to the beginning of the season. Unfortunately, Wesley Fofana sustained a very, very nasty injury that might keep him out for the rest of the season. We all saw it, and we have wished Wesley Fofana the best. You know, injuries are never welcomed. I don't care what team you play for or how much I hate your team. I'll never, ever, ever celebrate an injury on another player. It's just a disgraceful thing to do, in my personal opinion. But the loss of Wesley Fofana, obviously he was a key player. His breakout season in the Premier League was absolutely magnificent. He was he could do absolutely everything. He could tackle, he could dribble, he could carry the ball forward, he could play a fantastic pass. He was a very all-round sort of player, sort of like Reece James-ish in a bit, like if you get what I'm saying, obviously, like Reece James to me is just an absolute baller. There's everything like this. There's nothing that he can't do. You get me? And Wesley Fofana looks kind of similar in that mold. You get me? So hopefully Wesley Fofana, he will come back from his injury and he will be back to his best. You get me? But Chelsea Football Club, we are sitting at the top of... Oh, before I do talk about Chelsea Football Club, another important player at Leicester that I do have to mention, Yuri Tielemans is still injured. He did sustain a calf injury against Leeds and will still be out, and he's expected to return, I believe, around mid-December-ish times. I did read that somewhere. If I am wrong, I do apologise, but I do know that he will not be available for the game against Chelsea. Why have I mentioned him? Because we also know that he is also one of Leicester's very strong key players. We do remember what he did against us in the World Cup, a brilliant strike that was enough to separate the two teams and for Leicester to lift that FA Cup. He will not be available, so that is a big boost for Chelsea Football Club if you want to look at it that way. But yes, let's go on to the table leading Chelsea Football Club going into this game. We did hear from the manager, Mr. Thomas Tuchel. I will look in my notes. I'm not going to lie to you. I do have some notes. I took some notes after listening to Mr. Tuchel's presentation. So what we did get from this, a lot of it obviously was injury-based news, because Chelsea have been plagued. We've been unlucky with injuries before this international break, and I was hoping one or two of them will be able to face against Leicester, and it's looking unlikely for some of the faces we would love to see to be playing this weekend. So we're going to start with Mateo Mateo Kovacic and Romelu Lukaku, both of them are out. However, the news on Lukaku does look a bit positive. He will be back sooner rather than later, it seems. Mr. Tuchel did say that Lukaku is close to team training and will try on Sunday. He's not sure when he will return to play. It depends on how we'll train on Sunday. So it seems like Tuchel's really going to monitor him closely. He's going to have close conversations with Lukaku to see how his injury is feeling, whether he can perform during the week. And the decision is going to be made from there. So I think the earliest, and it still might be pushing it for Lukaku, but the earliest we might see him back is against Juventus. It would be fantastic to have Lukaku back against Juventus, but if he doesn't start the game, understandable. He has been out for a little length with an injury. So yeah, man, Lukaku, please, we're going to need you to come back soon. Obviously, Tuchel said he's under a lot of pressure. Lukaku he's a fantastic professional, puts a lot of pressure on himself to get back to his best, to really return back to the field. So they're really trying to monitor that carefully so they don't make his injury situation worse. As for Mr. Fantastic Mateo Kovacic, one of my favourite Chelsea players as well, it has to be said, one of the best midfielders in the Premier League this season, and I'm saying it with chest. Yo, Kovacic, my guy, unfortunately is still uncertain. Tuchel did say that he's not even ready to return to training anytime soon. But yeah, Kovacic, give it a few more weeks. But again, with him, he'll be back to his best. And that's going to be an absolutely fantastic addition when he comes back into the squad. But Mr. Turbo Timo Werner looks like he is gaining fitness. They will decide today, actually, after team training, whether he will be either in the squad or on the bench. But obviously, we do know, well, the clue indicated from Tuchel was that he won't be starting the game. He has returned back from injury, and we do have other options available, which we are going to come to. Thiago Silva as well, he won't be available. He is suffering from a few niggles, and apparently he is still a bit tired from the international time difference, because obviously he's all the way on this side of the world in Brazil. Time difference and jet lag is a bit of a madness. So at Thiago Silva's age as well, no disrespect, the guy needs a bit more recovery time than perhaps some of the younger players. And Mr. Mason Mount, Mace has been training very, very well. Apparently, he's looking enthusiastic. He is much better after this situation with his tooth, which he did have surgery for. And I don't know if you saw the video with Money Mace in the taxi. He looked like he was completely mashed up. Looked like he was out of it. Definitely had to take some of them meds before he had that treatment, and he was just waffling, bro. And it was one of the funniest things to see, because you could just tell that Mace was just done out here, you get me? So big up Mason Mount. Will we see him in the lineup tomorrow? It remains to be seen, but I expect to see him definitely in the squad. And we are going to come on to Mr. Steven Rodgers. And if you are not a Marvel fan, I will say this, I'm not the biggest Marvel fan, but yes, Steve Rodgers is back. He is back. AKA Mr. Christian Pulisic. Why do I call him Steve Rodgers? Marvel fans, let him know. Captain America, fam. Yes, he's back. He performed for America. You get me? He's not injured. He came off well. He's back in Chelsea. He's training. So, should Mr. Pulisic be starting the game? Absolutely, blood. Are you mad? Hey, I'm so happy to see Christian come back. And I beg, listen, yeah. I've said things about Pulisic in terms of I think Chelsea should sell if a good price tag comes. And I still stand by that in many respects. But come on, bro. He is a player. He's a player on his day. And it's exciting to see Christian Pulisic get his run of games. And I hope he could just start off coming back in a Chelsea shirt with a bang tomorrow. But obviously, I'm going to give you my predicted lineups later on. But yeah, man, so far it's looking quite optimistic. But we did put a bit of pressure on ourselves. We really should have got 3 points against Burnley. We did draw 1-1 against them before the international break. Hopefully we can make that a distant memory. I mean, we're allowed one in the season, and that's what we build a cushion for at the top of the table at the end of the day. You get me? We still are top of the table. Other teams around us do have difficult fixtures. They're not guaranteed 3 points in them fixtures at all. Although Liverpool do have Arsenal. And 9 times out of 10, you would say that Liverpool are going to smack the shit out of Arsenal. But Mr. Guni being optimistic, keyword, I'm being optimistic here. Liverpool will not get 3 points. Optimism, yeah? Realism is a completely different thing, yeah? Guni's just being optimistic here. Hopefully Arsenal will do the business. And for me, doing the business is at least teeth in a point or getting 3 points against Liverpool. If you could do that, big up yourselves only for that moment. But fuck Arsenal. Yeah, that will always remain. But, Yeah, definitely. The King Power Stadium is not an easy place to go. It's not an easy place to go at all. Leicester, like I said, are currently sitting in 12th place, and there's a lot of controversy around their club. And I think they just want to get on and just get on with their football on the pitch. And to be honest with you, what bigger statement for Leicester than to beat Chelsea and just to get their run of form going. I mean, Jamie Vardy has been bagging the goals against Leicester, so that's one danger man we're definitely going to have to watch out for. I imagine he will be available. There's no news on any injuries on Jamie Vardy, but that is a player we definitely need to watch out for. But if you do look at our defensive record this season, which I do keep bragging about for a reason, and I don't get tired of it, I do think we do. I do think we've got enough to take care of Mr. Vardy tomorrow and to keep him quiet. Without Yuri Tillemans as well, you know. No disrespect to Leicester, you're a very good team, but then you've also got to look back. Arsenal patterned them 2-0. Arsenal patterned them 2-0 at home, you get me? So, from Arsenal doing them things there, Chelsea, we should be going over there and we should be beating them. I'm not saying we should be battering Leicester, but we should definitely be coming away with 3 points. My lineup going into the game tomorrow, obvious, innit? Who's going to be in the goal? Mr. Edouard Mendy, definitely in goal. In between the sticks, in the gates, you get me? Big up the Africans, you get me? And then we're going to go with our obvious back three. Mr. Rudiger, Christensen. No, actually, because I did just say Thiago Silva is most probably unavailable. So, you know I'm going to ask to step in, innit? It's got to be Mr. Trevor, you get me? The little gun driller, you get me? Man, that Trevor step into that back three, man. Every time he's been called upon, he's always done a very good job. And I expect him to continue to do the same. Now that I mentioned Christensen and Antonio Rudiger, yeah? Hopefully I don't get lost in where I am in my formation. Okay, so goalkeeper and back three done. But Christensen and Rudiger. Interesting comments coming from Tuchel. I'm going to start off with Christensen. Tuchel says that the club are in the same. The club want the same thing. The player wants the same thing. The manager wants the same thing. It's just about. He's like, ideally he wants it wrapped up as soon as possible, and he wouldn't be surprised if he was to hear in the next few days that Christensen has renewed his deal. And he also mentioned that it is looking quite positive with Rudiger. A lot of us do feel like we are very nervous about the Rudiger situation, particularly with the form that he showed over the past 10 months. For some, it's not enough to say, yeah, he's going to continue like that, because 10 months in football, when you're playing for 10 years plus, it's not really a long time, is it? But with the form that he's been showing, and long may it continue, it looks like he's got a very good working relationship with Tuchel. You can definitely see he's come leaps and bounds since he's come in. Hopefully that is actually going to materialize and we do keep Rudiger. That will be a massive boost, a massive boost to get that news and just put those rumours to bed. Back to the lineup, yeah? I'm on to my wing backs now, innit? So, left wing back, I've got to go with Chile. Like, I can't see myself taking out Chile. He ain't done nothing wrong. I mean, he's a goal threat. He hasn't really put in a foot wrong, except give away that penalty. But since then, he hasn't really put in a foot wrong. Chile's been on smoke, you get me? So we're going to keep Chile there. And obviously, to me, the best right wing back in the Premier League, I said it. I do not give a shit if you're going to call it Chelsea bias. Reece James has always been my favourite academy player and has been for years. And I'm telling you now, that guy is the best right wing back in the Premier League, blood. That guy is levels. In terms of like the complete package, for me it's Reece James. In terms of individual like specialized things in their game, Trent Alexander-Arnold. Obviously, you can't argue with the assist record. You can't argue with his conversion rate from the free kicks. You can't argue with them things there. But in terms of the all-round game, Reece James's delivery is not that far off Trent, in my opinion. His corners not far off Trent Alexander-Arnold, in my opinion. Defensively, better than Trent Alexander-Arnold, in my opinion. So, you get me. My man Reece James, nailed on starter, has to start that game. Then we're going to look into that midfield pivot. I'm going to go with the midfield pivot for this game. I do not think we're going to go with the 3-5-2. I reckon we're going to go back to the midfield pivot, which has worked for us. Jorginho, when he come back into the lineup, has had a bit of a difficult time with Italy. Obviously missed the penalty, and Italy are in the playoffs. So difficult times for Italy, you get me. But I'm going to start with Jorginho in this lineup. I think I'm going to partner him with, obviously, the one, the only, the best in the world. Yes, I rate my Chelsea players, and I don't give a shit what anyone thinks, but N'Golo Kante is going to partner Jorginho. Solid midfield partnership there. We've seen it before. We know what they're all about. You get me? And then our front three. On the left, I'm going with Callum Hudson-Odoi. Yes, I'm going with Callum Hudson-Odoi. Why am I going with Callum Hudson-Odoi? Because I think he's been on brilliant form and I think it'll be harsh to take him off. He has been direct. He has been creating opportunities. We haven't been converting on opportunities, but Callum has been doing his job, you get me? So I do want to see Callum start in that position. On the other side, on the right wing, obviously I've given it away. It has to be Mr. Steve Rodgers, blood. Steve Rodgers has to start there. Yeah, Captain America. Christian Pulisic has to start on that right wing. We know what Pulisic can offer in terms of lining up that defender one-on-one and not being afraid to beat him. Pulisic is that guy, you get me? He's going to add that extra dimension. He's going to be getting in behind, you get me? Hopefully he'll be creating chances and putting away chances for us tomorrow. And in the middle, the goal scoring Kai Havertz, scored for club, scored for country. Hopefully, albeit I understand that it wasn't really the best opposition internationally, but he still got a goal. Hopefully he can carry this into the game tomorrow. And yo, listen, I do think we've got enough about us to come away with 3 points. And it's like I said, Arsenal did come away from there with 3 points and a clean sheet. So I'm expecting us, the Kings of London, the Kings of Europe, to do better than Arsenal. You get me? At least 2-0 for Chelsea. For me, I'm not going to go with my usual 3-0. So my prediction will be a similar scoreline. It's going to be 2-0 Chelsea. I do believe we'll keep a clean sheet. I do think we'll get back to winning ways. And I do think we are going to hold the position at the top of the table a little bit longer. You get me? But I think that's it for now, man. It's great to be back. It's just, I just love being back to Premier League football. Thank goodness the international break doesn't have to rear its ugly head until March. So yeah, man, thank you to everybody that's watched. Please make sure you do like, share, subscribe. Leave your thoughts also down there in the comments. I always love to read through your opinions. So yeah, man, until tomorrow after the game for the post-match, hopefully I'll be screaming, jumping, shouting for joy for the 3 points and the clean sheet that we're going to get. But yeah, until then, big up yourselves. Bless.